Hi everybody, it's Angie from Angie's Inspirations, and this will be my second video in my series on my experience with pregnancy. I'm not sure yet how many videos are going to be in this series. I will be talking about most of my experiences with my pregnancies, and so that's why I'm not really sure how long it's going to take to tell you about this chapter of my life. So I'm gonna tell you first about my labor with my second child. And okay, so she was 9 days overdue. It in itself was really uncomfortable, but as women, we all know that that's part of pregnancy, and it's well worth it once you have that baby in your arms. So, because she was 9 days overdue, I was put on a wait list to be induced, and I was waiting for a call from the hospital, and before I got the call, I actually went into labor on my own, so that was pretty awesome. But the reason why I want to tell you the story of this labor is because some pretty interesting events occurred during the course of the labor, and I'm gonna tell you now about those. So, I went into labor, but I was in labor for a long time before I finally figured out that I was in labor and put two and two together. And knew what was going on. So I was having back pain that day, and as all of us know, back pain is kind of par for the course with pregnancy. And when you have back pain anyway, besides the back pain that goes along with pregnancy, you don't always distinguish sometimes. And so I went into labor with her, and it was back labor. And like I said, because I experienced back pain anyway, I didn't really put two and two together. At first, I wasn't feeling the pain come and go. It was constant. And so I sort of just, went about my day, went about my business, and kind of, just did what I had to do throughout the course of the day. That when I first started feeling it, it was about 10 a.m. And so around 5 or so, my husband had decided that, we would go for a walk. Because I was in a lot of pain, and I just wanted to do something to get my mind off the pain. I'm not sure if at that point it was more of a discomfort to me because I have a really high pain tolerance, and so I just you know thought it's just part of being uncomfortable and pregnant and 9 days overdue, and I still hadn't gotten a call from the hospital. So here we were, going for this walk, and we ended up at a grocery store, and we bought some stuff for supper. And I told him about a half hour after we left the house that I wasn't feeling well, and I wanted to go home and maybe lay down if it was possible. If I could get comfortable enough to lie down, kind of thing. So we went home and I tried to lay down and didn't work so well, wasn't so comfortable, still having the constant back pain. And after like 5-6 hours of this, I was really, really tired and I really needed some sleep. And so because I couldn't get comfortable, I just decided to get back up again and try and keep my mind off it and do whatever I had to do and get things ready for the new baby and spend some time with my oldest daughter while I still had the opportunity, because she was about to go through a big change as well with a new baby coming home and not being the only child anymore. So I wanted some acknowledgement of the change that she was about to experience, and I wanted to spend some time with her one-on-one, and I did end up doing that, and I was reading to her around 10 p.m., getting ready to put her to bed. I didn't want to put her to bed yet because I knew that in the next few days her life was going to change and all our lives were going to change. And I just wanted to, spend as much time with her as I could before having to tend to the needs of an infant. So I was reading to her, and then I finally said to her, Mommy is sort of feeling a bit of pain, and I think I need to go and have the baby now, go to the hospital and have the baby. The baby's gonna come out of my belly, is what I told her, and I had to stop reading because the pain got really bad, and I had finally figured out around 10, 15, 10:30 that night that it was labor, because at that point the pain was no longer constant. It was coming and going, and the contractions were kind of fast and furious. So they were about 3-4 minutes apart, and they were pretty painful. So my husband's sister, who was staying with us, because I was 9 days overdue and we needed someone to help care for our older child while we went into the hospital, took over reading to her, and I went out and called 911, and my husband, he was getting some things that we needed from home to bring to the hospital with us. So we went to the hospital, and they told us that I was in labor, and I was actually, when we got there, I was actually 4 centimeters dilated. And so I labored through that night and into the next morning, and I was doing pretty good, but it was a long labor, so I was pretty tired. And finally at around I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning, they had checked me and said that, I was 9.5 centimeters dilated. So just had a little lip of my cervix left to go. And, then I could push. And they kept telling me not to push, even if I felt like I needed to push, because, the exterior lip of my cervix was still there. And, so I was, hoping that it would be over soon. And I'd finally have a baby in my arms. And, so then around 11:30 a.m., they came in and checked me again and said that, I still hadn't made progress from 8 or 9 o'clock that morning. And by this time, my daughter's heartbeat was beginning to slow, so they wanted to get her out. So I had a cesarean section. And at 11:46 a.m. that morning, she was born. And but the interesting part of this labor story is that the doctor, the anesthesiologist, had forgotten to read my chart before he gave me the medication for the C-section. He wanted to give me medication. I don't know what it was for. I was kind of not paying attention to stuff at that point a little bit. So he gave me medication, and anyways, I had an adverse reaction, and my heart stopped for about 20 seconds. And they got that under control, and everything was kind of okay. But I couldn't hold my baby for 3 hours after she was born without my blood pressure going through the roof, either up or down, spiking every time that they would lay her in my arms. So my husband held her for the first 3 hours after she was born, and he took care of her first feeding, and I was getting sick for those 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, I threw up about 6 times, and then they brought me upstairs to a room, and then finally, the nurses were monitoring my blood pressure, and they were, doing everything they could do. And finally, around 6 o'clock or so, I got to hold my baby without feeling like I was going to be sick. And to be honest, I can't tell you how many times I threw up between 11:45 that morning and 6 that evening. I don't even know. But I called my mom and, told her that everything was okay. She was kind of worried because she was expecting to hear from me before then. And so she was relieved, and I was relieved, and everyone was relieved to know that it was okay, and I was okay. The baby was okay. So that's part of that labor story, and I'll tell you the rest of my pregnancy journey in some upcoming videos. Thanks, everybody. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time.